The clatter of cutlery and the buzz of brunch conversations filled the diner, but my mother's voice cut through the noise like a razor. "She's only here because I took pity on her," Mom said, loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. Her tone dripped with malice, a smirk playing on her lips as she reached for her mimosa. "Before we dive in, drop a comment below and let us know where you're from and which city you're tuning in from. After you finish the story, share what you do in this situation. Be real. We read every single comment. Let's get started." The table fell quiet. My sister snickered under her breath, muttering something to her fiancé as if humiliating her own kin was a sport. My father squirmed in his seat, but he didn't say a word to defend me. I set my teacup down carefully, my hands steady despite the ache in my chest. I didn't snap back. I didn't cry. Instead, I took another sip, the cool porcelain against my lips hiding the fire burning inside. But inside, a storm was brewing. I'd endured years of her biting remarks, jabs about me being the letdown, the failure, the family's charity case. And now she was parading it in front of relatives and strangers alike. "So quiet," my aunt whispered from across the table, her eyes darting to me with a mix of sympathy and intrigue. "You never push back, do you?" I met her gaze. My voice was calm but edged. "Some people let their deeds speak louder than words." For a moment, silence cloaked the table. My mother snorted, tossing her napkin into her lap. "Deeds. Please, what deeds? You're scraping by, don't make a fool of yourself." Her cruelty wasn't surprising anymore. What stunned them was my composure. I wasn't the fragile girl they thought they could shatter. Then an hour later, the diner's atmosphere shifted. The door swung open, and every head turned as a tall man in a sharp navy suit strode in. His presence carried weight, the kind that hushed conversations and drew eyes without trying. His dark hair was neatly combed, his steps confident, and his gaze steady as it swept the room until it found me. My heart raced, not with fear, but with a quiet triumph I'd been holding on to all morning. "Emma," he said, approaching, his voice deep, assured, commanding. Mom froze. Her fork slipped, clanging against her plate, the sound ringing across the table. Her face went ashen, as if she'd seen a ghost, because standing there was my husband, Daniel Lawson, the man she swore I'd invented when I kept my private life guarded. But here he was in the flesh, more powerful, more commanding, and more undeniably real than anyone at that table could have pictured. For the first time in years, my mother was speechless. The diner seemed to hold its breath. Forks paused midair. Conversations stalled. Even the servers hesitated as Daniel pulled out the empty chair beside me and sat. His hand grazed mine briefly, calm, steady, protective. That small gesture silenced every cruel whisper I'd endured at this table. "Sorry I'm late," Daniel said smoothly, offering a polite smile to the relatives gawking at him. "Traffic." His tone was casual, but his presence pressed on everyone like a storm cloud ready to burst. My mother's lips parted, but no words came. She blinked as if trying to convince herself this was real. You're her husband." Her voice cracked, the sharp edge she always wielded against me dulled by disbelief. Daniel tilted his head, his jaw tightening. "Yes, and you are." Her mouth opened and shut like a fish gasping for air. "I'm her mother." He leaned back, eyes narrowing. In that moment, the table understood. He wasn't just anyone. His confidence, his control, his very existence radiated authority. People like him didn't wait for introductions. They owned the room without asking. My sister, Amber, broke the tension with a scoff. "This can't be real, Emma." "Married to you?" She laughed, as if the idea was a cruel prank. "I mean, come on, look at her. She can barely pay her bills." The words stung, but I didn't let it show. Daniel's hand tightened over mine before I could respond. "Funny," he said, his voice deceptively calm. "From where I'm sitting, she's the strongest, most capable woman I've ever met. Maybe that's why she doesn't waste energy tearing others down." Amber's smile wavered. Her fiancé shifted awkwardly beside her. I felt eyes boring into me from every angle. Relatives who'd ignored me, cousins who'd gossiped about my failures, all staring now, wondering how they'd missed the truth. "Mom," she finally snapped out of her daze. "Wait," she said sharply, her voice trembling between outrage and desperation. "If you're really her husband, who are you?" Daniel pulled his wallet from his suit jacket, placing a sleek, embossed business card on the table. The gold lettering gleamed under the light. Silence deepened as my aunt leaned forward, squinting at the name. Her eyes widened instantly. Daniel Lawson, CEO of Lawson Global Holdings. The shock hit like a tidal wave. My uncle coughed into his napkin, my cousin's jaw dropped. My sister's fiancé muttered a curse under his breath, but my mother, she went pale, completely pale. Her fork lay forgotten, her manicured nails twitching as she reached for her water glass. "You've been mocking your own daughter," Daniel said, his tone sharp now, "while she stood taller than every insult you've thrown her way. And you didn't even notice." His words weren't angry, they were worse. Controlled, cold, each one slicing into the silence like a knife. I sat there, still and quiet, but my heart pounded. For years I'd dreamed of this moment, not revenge exactly, but justice, proof. A mirror held up to the people who'd spent their lives belittling me. Amber laughed again, but it cracked this time. "This is ridiculous, you're lying." "Emma can't, she wouldn't." Daniel turned to her, eyes narrowing. "You think she's beneath me, that a woman has to prove herself to you to be worthy of love. Maybe you should ask yourself why you're so quick to tear down someone who's endured your cruelty with grace." Amber flushed, her mouth snapping shut. For once, she had no snappy comeback. My mother found her voice again, but it shook. "Emma, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you say anything?" I let out a slow breath, my voice steady. "Because every time I tried to share my life, you turned it into a weapon. You didn't want the truth, you wanted something to use against me, so I learned to stay quiet. Silence was safer." Her eyes flickered with something new, not remorse, but fear. Daniel's gaze swept the table. "She doesn't need your approval, she doesn't need your validation, and she definitely doesn't need your pity. She has everything she needs right here." He lifted my hand, pressing his lips to my knuckles, a subtle but undeniable statement. The room around us was tense, every relative frozen between disbelief and awe. But I wasn't looking at them anymore. I was looking at my mother, watching her mask finally crack. For years, she'd thrived on her superiority, reminding me at every turn that I wasn't enough. Now she looked small, shaken, cornered by a truth she couldn't dismiss. And I sat there, sipping my tea again. The flavor was sharper now, sweeter even, because for the first time her silence was mine. My mother's fingers shook as she set her glass down, the faint clink louder than the chatter returning to the diner. But at our table, no one dared breathe too deeply. The air was thick with everything left unsaid. "I don't understand," Mom whispered, her eyes darting between me and Daniel, searching for an escape. "You've been hiding this from us? Why?" Her voice wasn't soft with love, it was laced with fear, the kind that comes when power slips away. I tilted my head, keeping my tone even. "Hiding? No, I just stopped sharing parts of myself with people who never cared to hear." My aunt shifted uncomfortably, her gaze flickering between us. "Marilyn," she said softly, addressing my mom, "you've been too hard on her. Maybe it's time to own that." "Hard?" The word hung in the air, a weak stand-in for years of cruelty. "Hard?" I echoed, letting out a humorless laugh. "You call it hard when your own mother announces to strangers that you're nothing, when she invites you just to tear you down. That's not hard, Mom. That's deliberate. That's cruelty dressed up as family." Daniel squeezed my hand, but I didn't need reassurance anymore. I was standing on ground I'd built myself. Amber jumped in, her voice sharp. "Oh, spare me, Emma. You always play the victim. Maybe if you'd actually made something of yourself, Mom wouldn't be embarrassed." The words hit, but they didn't wound, not like they used to. I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "Embarrassed of me, or jealous that I didn't grovel for approval like you still do?" Her cheeks reddened. She opened her mouth to retort, but Daniel's voice cut through, low and steady. "Careful," he warned, his tone sending a chill across the table. "You have no idea the strength it takes to endure what she has." Amber's fiancé tugged at his collar, looking like he wanted to vanish, but my mother wasn't done. Her pride wouldn't let her stay quiet for long. "You think showing up with a man makes you better than us, Emma? That will treat you differently because of his money." Her words were sharp, desperate, clawing to hold onto control. I met her stare with calm certainty. "No, Mom, I don't want your approval, not anymore. This isn't about money. It's about respect, something you never gave me, no matter how hard I tried to earn it." Her face twisted, the cracks in her facade widening. For the first time, she looked rattled, vulnerable. Daniel leaned forward, his gaze locked on her. "You've spent years underestimating her, but here's what you missed. Emma doesn't need your pity, and she never did. She's stronger than everyone at this table combined." The silence that followed was heavy. Amber tried again, her voice shrill. "This is absurd. You're just trying to make us look bad." I turned to her, my tone soft but sharp. "You don't need my help to look bad. You've managed that all on your own." Laughter drifted from a nearby table, someone catching a snippet without understanding. But it sliced through the tension, a reminder that the world outside this drama kept moving while my family's empire of cruelty crumbled bit by bit. My father finally spoke, his voice low and tired. "Enough!" His eyes were on me, but they lacked the venom of my mother's. "Emma, I didn't realize—" "No," I cut him off, my voice firm. "You realized, you just stayed quiet." And silence can hurt just as much as the words she throws at me. His face tightened, shame flickering but quickly buried. I looked at them all, the family who'd mocked me, laughed at me, turned every gathering into a stage for my humiliation. For the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. Daniel's arm brushed mine as he leaned back. "I think we're done here," he said. His tone wasn't angry, it was final. But before he could stand, my mother blurted out, her voice cracking, "Wait!" The single word drew every gaze back to her. She sat frozen, her hand gripping the table's edge. Her lips trembled. For a moment, she looked old, fragile. "Emma," she whispered, "I didn't mean—" I raised a hand, stopping her. Don't rewrite the story now. You meant every word. The only difference is today you saw your words don't control me anymore." The weight of the moment pressed on my chest, but it wasn't crushing. It was freeing. Daniel stood, gently pulling me with him. His presence was a shield, but I didn't need one anymore. Not here, not now. I looked back one last time, my voice clear. "I came here today to sip tea, not to beg for love. And I'm leaving with exactly what I need." The room seemed to exhale as we walked away, their stunned silence trailing behind like a shadow. But for once it wasn't my burden to carry, it was theirs. Outside, the sunlight felt different, warmer, brighter, like the air itself was lighter without the weight of that table pressing on me. But I knew it wasn't over. Families like mine don't let things end neatly. Sure enough, my phone buzzed before we reached the car. Amber's name flashed on the screen. I didn't pick up. Then another buzz, Mom, then Dad. Call after call, as if they were scrambling to patch the cracks in the image they'd so carefully built. Daniel glanced at my phone, then at me. "You don't owe them anything," he said softly. I swallowed hard, my chest tight. "I know, but I want them to hear me one last time," so I answered. "Emma," Mom's voice came through, high-pitched, frantic. "Please don't leave it like this. We didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I cut in, my voice steady but sharp. "You never asked, you never listened. Every time I tried to share, you turned it into a weapon, and now you're scared, not sorry." Her silence on the other end was loud. Amber's voice broke in shrill. "You're blowing this way out of proportion. You embarrassed us in there. Do you realize how you made us look?" I laughed softly, the sound bitter but free. "Funny, you spent years humiliating me in front of anyone who'd listen, but the moment the truth makes you squirm, I'm the bad guy." Daniel placed a hand on my knee, a quiet reminder I'd already won. "Emma," Mom's voice trembled now, desperate. "We can start over, come home, bring him, we'll talk as a family." "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to call this a family when all you ever gave me was shame. I have a family now, one that doesn't need your approval to exist." The line went quiet. Then softly I added, "You'll never use me as your punching bag again." And I hung up. For the first time, ending that call didn't fill me with guilt. It filled me with peace. We drove in silence for a while, the city passing by outside the windows. Then Daniel reached for my hand, his thumb brushing my skin. "You didn't just stand up to them," he said. "You set yourself free." His words sank into me, a truth I'd always known but never claimed. That evening, as we sat on our balcony overlooking the city lights, my phone lit up again. Texts from cousins, relatives, some apologizing, some curious, some suddenly eager to reconnect. But I didn't respond, not yet. Instead, I looked at Daniel. "For once," I whispered, "I don't feel small anymore." He smiled, pulling me close. "That's because you never were. You're just finally seeing it." The city lights sparkled below, but they couldn't match the warmth glowing inside me. My mother's fork hitting the plate, her face draining of color at Daniel's arrival. Amber's silence when confronted. Those weren't just moments of payback. They were proof that no matter how many years they tried to break me, I'd risen higher. And the best part? I didn't need to yell, plead, or fight for it. All I had to do was stand in my truth, fully and completely. That night, I muted every chat, silenced every call, and for the first time in years, I slept soundly. Because my silence no longer came from fear, it came from power.